On this episode of WarDocs, we welcome surgical technologist Sergeant Marco Martinez. Marco is in the US Army Reservist with multiple deployments, including the Pacific, Latin America, and Europe. He also worked for many years in the operating room at Brooke Army Medical Center, the only Level 1 trauma center in the Department of Defense. In this interview, we discuss the highs and lows of surgical care and the unique bond formed within operating room teams. He also describes the unique job of a surgical technologist. Later in the interview, Marco tells us how he trains the next generation of military medical providers and surgical technologists. Learn more about Sergeant Marco Martinez at WarDocsPodcast.com, and make sure you follow WarDocs on your preferred podcast platform and subscribe to our WarDocs YouTube channel. I'm your host, Dr. Wayne Causey, active duty Army vascular surgeon.
Welcome to WarDocs, the military medicine podcast. This show brings you a first-hand, behind-the-scenes look into the mission, unique opportunities, and deployed experiences of the entire military healthcare team. From state-of-the-art hospitals in the United States to the most austere environments across the globe, WarDocs has you covered.
Welcome to the WarDocs podcast. Today I'm joined by Sergeant Marco Martinez, a surgical technologist in the US Army Reserves. Thanks for joining me today, Marco.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm happy to be here with y'all.
Marco, you originally hail from Central America, specifically Honduras. Tell us about
Yeah.
your early years in Honduras and what was life like growing up there.
I was born in the capital of Honduras, and people ask me, "Where are you from?" I say, Tegucigalpa. Teguci what? Tegucigalpa is the capital, and not gonna lie, not gonna sugarcoat it, but when people say that it's a humble country, it essentially they're saying that it's third world country, poor, and our opportunities were limited. And as a child, we would get water once a week. Sometimes we'd have to call a truck to come drop off water because water wouldn't come at all. And I remember I would sell little Kool-Aid, frozen Kool-Aid bags, and I needed to hurry up and sell them before they defrost. So my mom was always trying to find a way um, to hustle and trying to teach us good work ethics.
So share with me your journey of coming to the United States.
Oh man. So like I said, my mom, she had a passion to sell, to work, and to invest, and there was not much of that over there in Honduras. My biological father wasn't the best person, and he was one of the reasons why we chose to come here as well to the United States. Mm, when we came to the United States, eventually my mother, she met my stepdad, and to this day, to me, that's my real dad. That guy taught me how to mow a lawn, introduced me to the sport of football, taught me how to speak English, because I we came to the United States, and everyone would always compliment on how well behaved we were. But then they say, but why do they talk funny? Because our accent from Honduras is different from the normal Spanish. My stepfather, he was a great man, and he taught us. He piggybacked on what my mom wanted to teach us with work ethic. And there's Dania, myself, Marco, Rommel, Marvin, Ana, Aaron, Leo, and Elias. 8 kids. We're all grown up now, and I think both of my parents started a beautiful legacy. My mom, she's 63 years old and now has about 27 or 28 grandkids. I lost track, but it's a beautiful thing that she allowed us to find with the opportunities that were created by coming here.
So at some point you decided to join the military. Take me through that decision-making process and how you picked the Army.
When you're young, you think you're bulletproof. You think that the world is in your hands. And I'm gonna join the Marines. Oh, there's a lot of rivalry going on between the branches, and it's fun. It's fun, all that. By the way, go Army, beat Navy.
That's right.
And the Marines would go to the high school and, hey, how many pull-ups can you do? And you start going and showing off. And the girls, you're trying to prove that you're the big man on campus. But then I I don't know. I didn't want those options that the Marines had to offer. And I remember I remember my recruiter said, "Hey, there's a position for a surgical tech." And what the heck is that? And they showed me a video, and I fell in love with that job. I fell in love with that job. Also, I felt that I could take on that physical challenge and the running and the lifting and being able to be physically fit. But as you get older, you obtain a dad bod, and this is where I'm at right now. But it was that job that I feel I was blessed with, because I had nobody's footsteps to follow. I didn't have an uncle that was previously in. We didn't have friends that knew much about the military. Just one day, I said, you know what? I'm going to join. And 2 weeks later, shipped out. It was quick. It was after the 9/11, and I joined in 2006. I joined the United States Reserve, and um, it's opened up so many opportunities. I have loved almost every experience that I've had.
So for our listeners, they've probably heard of, if they listen to other episodes, people talk about I was in a four-man surgical team or a five-man surgical team, and people may not fully understand exactly what that means. And I'm going to describe it. What it means is that you have an anesthesiologist, you have a surgeon, you have a circulating nurse, but then you have a
Mhm.
surgical technologist, or as the Army calls it. So all services have it, but the Army calls it an operating room specialist, right? And so you're a 68 Delta is the
Delta.
MOS. So
Yeah.
tell us what that job is to you in the military, and how do you convey that important role that you have in the operating room to those people that ask you what exactly is the operating room specialist?
Well, first and foremost, I love to tell the story of how the surgical techs began. In World War One and World War Two, the Army had a lot of casualties, so they used a lot of their combat medics. Of course, under the supervision of the surgeon who allowed him or her to do certain things. The Army used its combat medics, which are now 68 whiskeys, um, to assist and prepare in those surgical procedures. If I'm in a four-man surgical team, I work alongside with these people. I put all my trust in the surgeon. The surgeon puts all his trust in anesthesia, and everyone relies a lot on the circulator, and then there's me, the guy that's supposed to anticipate everything that is needed. And I prepare, check the equipment, make sure it functions well, and that everything that is needed is available, readily available.
Yeah, I mean, a surgical tech needs four hands, right? Because you not only have to be assisting the surgeon, but you also have to be making sure you're anticipating that next step, just like you said. I mean, if the
Yeah.
surgeon needs somebody to hold something someplace, you're it. I mean, you're the one scrubbed in helping do the case. So tell us about some
I
of the
always,
missions. Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
yeah, I was gonna say I always like to joke and say I want to be 6 steps ahead of the surgeon, and don't give him what he asked for, give him what he needs.
that's right.
And and the only way he's gonna know he's gonna get what he needs is if I um, build a good relationship with him and that I help him gain trust towards me,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, as a surgeon, and you have been in surgeries with me and have fulfilled this role great. When you hold out your
Thank
hand
you.
and the instrument is in your hand and you didn't have to use any verbal communication, that's when you know you've got really the true teamwork between the team. But
Yeah.
you've been on several missions, and I want to hear about some of those missions that you've been on because not only do you help a vascular surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon, a neurosurgeon, you help all surgeons when you're in deployed medicine because you have to cover all the surgeries. I mean, you are the person who has to know all the instruments for all the surgeries. So take me through a few of the missions you've been on.
In your honor, let's talk about a vascular surgeon I was with in Indonesia. It was really cool. It was an extremely austere environment, and we were talking about how to prepare, and our supply was limited resources. The surgeon told me, "Hey, if we run out of bulldog clamps, the smooth ones for arteries, just go ahead and cut the tubing that's probably not sterile and it's part of combat, and cut cut it to size enough to slip it onto a clamp and just and use that." In Indonesia, we were helping an infantry unit prepare and train with the Indonesian Marines. I went to Japan and Misawa Air Base as an Army Reserve component, and we helped build a hospital outside Misawa Hospital, and I think those were the first steps to potentially make that a joint base. I don't think it's a joint base even after we left there, but traveling there was pretty neat. Um, Another cool place that I had been to is Germany. We had the opportunity to work with some folks that were injured in the Ukraine war, soldiers, news reporters that were injured in that war. So we've done a lot for them, and at the same time, we have junior enlisted personnel that were stationed there. For me, that was an opportunity to teach and help them grow and to help them be better surgical techs. But another cool place that I've been to is I went back home on a mission. I got the opportunity to get stationed in Honduras, and I can say that I gave back to my people in Central America. But Germany is kind of cool because you get to see those references that you see in books or in movies or in commercials that you grew up watching, in Pompeii or London, Luxembourg, all France, Italy, all those cool places that I had the opportunity to go visit while I was deployed in Germany.
That's great. And you alluded to one of the things that I've experienced having been attached to a field hospital unit, and that is that when it comes to setting up the different components to the operating room, the surgical technologist is the one that knows how to put together all the pieces of a modular field hospital. Is that the way it's
Mhm.
been with your reserve units? Is that you're sort of entrusted as the surgical technologist to be the one who knows how to assemble, disassemble, package all the sets and supplies for the operating room?
So you go into a big Connex and a big metal box, and then hey, set up your hospital. And you're like, okay. So then you open up the big Connex, and you just have a bunch of big military green boxes. There's your OR bed, and it's in the boxes. How is that gonna be a surgical bed? But we train, we figure out how to set up the light fixtures, we train how to set up the gurney, we train how to pop up the tents, put them back down. We train how to set up the generator and connect lighting for AC. And all this, it's fine and dandy for us, but it's not for us. It's for the soldiers, our patients.
Yeah, I can say that you and I have done many cases together at BAMC, and um, very rarely have we actually done a surgery that's just you and I. That's usually something that's been in the late evening or the late afternoon. But when it's
Yeah.
been daytime cases, one of my observations has been there's always a trainee with you, and I did a little research before this, and it's because everyone says you were such a great teacher. Take us through some of the tips and pointers that you tell to the surgical technologists that are training to do your job in the military.
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a bad student, only bad preceptors and students with bad attitudes. So if they don't learn, it's because they think they know it all and they don't let me teach them, or I simply don't teach them. I take my role as a as a preceptor. I take it very serious and I love it. And the other thing that people should always remember is that they were once a student. They were once an experience. They were once in their shoes. So I like to put myself in their shoes. And I always ask myself, what is it that I can teach this student, this orientee, that I wish someone would have taught me? And that's when the pro tips come. Okay, everybody learns different, so I've learned to get a feel for students' personalities, and some think they already know it all. Some are excited to absorb all the information, and for those that are that think they know it all, here's I give them a little spiel, and I tell them, "Hey, look, I want to go home, tell my wife that I did a great job and I taught someone. So if you know what I'm about to say, just let me finish. And then if I say what you were going to repeat, let's just drive on. You don't need to repeat what I say." But that's to alleviate any tension that might be created. And then what I also like to do, I don't know how far along you are in your training or in your course, but if it's our first time, allow me to set up. Maybe you'll pick up a good technique or two, but don't worry. I will make sure that you have plenty of hands-on during the procedure. And I'll be 5, 6 steps ahead of the surgeon to make you look good. And I feel that if you create a teachable environment, I feel that students will absorb and retain more information that way. And I'm not your friend, I'm not your buddy. I will correct you, but I'll do it with love and I'll do it with the utmost respect. And in the end, we'll talk at the end of the day and hey, good job with this. I like to find the good in people, in students. I like to find, I understand, for example, when you were a resident, you had to please this surgeon this surgeon, this nurse, this tech, and in the end, you don't end up pleasing anybody. So, last thing I want is for someone to feel like they haven't done any good. So, I look for the good in students and respectfully correct them with any suggestions or improvements that they need.
So, what did you find? What do you find is the most enjoyable part of your job?
Oh my goodness. For example, you meeting you, we worked together. I feel like it took one procedure and I was able to build a great bond with you. And after that, every time I see you, hey, dog, how's it going? Good seeing you. And hey, don't forget to request me in the room. All right, cool. Yeah. Um, um, but then you get those students that go on to bigger, better things. They get, they go to their first duty station or they get deployed. And then next thing you know, hey, we have a new NCOIC or hey, we have a new OIC because we often train nurses, circulating nurses as well. They go through 1 week of the course. And I like to share with nurses what expectations they should have with their surgical techs. Some surgical techs might be a little bit lazy and they're not worried about that nurse's license. Hey, it's not my license, but I tell them what to expect from a surgical tech with circulating nurses, officers when they're going through the course. And next thing you know, they introduce our leaders as they introduce our previous students who were once here and now they obtain experience and build from our training and are now leading our OR at Brooke Army Medical Center. That has been one of the most rewarding things for me. Watching them grow, watching residents grow. Yeah, you have in the vascular program, you have I've seen some of your residents when they were young bucks and now they're about to graduate and go on to better things and that just makes me proud and happy for them. And go on, little chicks, go fly away.
Yeah, that's certainly the cycle of military medicine, right? I mean, it's a
Yeah,
close community. Everyone runs into each other repeatedly, even though we go thousands and thousands of miles away from one another.
yeah.
So, I'm actually curious. This is probably the question I wanted to ask you the most. And when you do your job, you have to cover so many different surgeries, and
Hmm.
at a trauma center, a level one trauma center like BAMC, you never know what's going to walk through the front door. I mean, it could be cardiac surgery, it could be vascular surgery, it could be neurosurgery, it could be facial surgery, eye surgery, you name it. I mean, any part of the body can get
I've
damaged
been
by
there.
trauma, right? So, how do you get prepared to be able to jump in to any and every case when it comes through the door?
Let's say I'm training and orientating someone, training them. I always ask them simple questions. Hey, do you know what a Kelly is? Yes. Do you know how to roll a towel to lay down your instruments? Yes. Do you know what Richardson is? Yes. Pass me the Richardson. Thank you. I ask them questions that may seem obvious and dumb at that point, but then I tell them, okay, you already know the basics of surgery. You have a key role to make sure that all the supply is needed. You have an important role to set up. Just do what you already know how to do, but do it fast. That should help you stay calm. Don't let other people's past experiences intimidate you. You have that confidence, and I tell myself that too. Have that confidence. Don't let other people's experiences intimidate me. and work fast because people's lines are on the live, okay? And have the mentality that this person is not going to die on your time, on your watch. That's helped me to be able to anticipate and review in my head, okay, this is going to be needed next. And that's how I prepared, not just mentally, but of course, get the logistics and the supply and everything going fast, fast, fast. And I've been there when I was active duty in at Brooke Army Medical Center, worked different shifts, and I've done my time with that. So, whew, and there's things that haunt me. There's things that I wish I wouldn't have seen, and but there's only so much you can do, and I don't feel like if I let them down. I did everything I could, whether they lived or didn't. But most of them, or almost everyone, did
Hmm.
return home in one piece.
So you and I actually met, I think, mostly in the not in the also in the operating room, but also we ended up having a locker basically issued right next to one another in the locker room at BAMS. I think
BFFs.
you were two over with a neurosurgeon named Hobbs, who was actually in between the two of us, at
Oh
least for
yeah.
some period of time. But let's say that we were there, and you were telling me about one of your most memorable cases or experiences in your entire life of being in the military. What case would you say, really jumps to the? You'd say, I remember this time when dot dot dot.
Oh my goodness. We had it was a night shift. His name was Specialist Wade, and he was sitting down at home, and he got shot, and he was brought into our operating room. We had a nurse there. She saw him, and she said, "I know him. I can't be here. It's conflict of interest." So I just stay focused, and he worked as well at one of the wards at BAMSI, and he didn't make it. He didn't make it, and it was heartbreaking. So I just remember having to put him in the body bag, give him a toe tag, and before we did that, we allowed the chaplain and his next of kin with their daughters to come in, and they were crying, and I remember I just put on my glasses, and I put on my glasses, and they asked. I was trying to hide my tears. They asked, "Hey, what's next?" Whew, I was just a junior enlisted. I didn't know what to say. I don't know the answers, but I had something come over me and tell me exactly what to tell them. And I told them, "Hey, we're gonna take him downstairs." I told her the next steps that were gonna be taken, and she was able to find a little bit of comfort. But for me that was very life changing because I never wanted to go through that experience again. And like I said before, I did everything I possibly could, but God has a plan for us, and that just kind of motivated me to be better, so that no family member ever has to hear those bad news again. And there's been bad, but there's also been good. We we had one of our own. She had breast cancer, and she specifically requested that I be there to assist in her surgery. And when a patient requests for you to be in their procedure, that's like the ultimate compliment that you can get because they trust you, they feel you're confident. And I was like, okay, you got to add that extra pinch of love. And she's obviously putting all her trust, her whole life in our hands. Fast forward a couple of months later, ran into her in the hallway and she's smiling and she's so happy and she's so thankful and she's a major now. So she's been able to advance and progress because she got a second chance at life. And that's what we do in the operating room. We give people a second chance. And and that's what I love about all this.
Those are both great stories. The highs and lows of working in an
Yeah.
operating room and taking care of patients. Now, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you have a fairly extensive family. Your mother, you have 7 siblings. There's 8 of you in the family. Lots of nieces and nephews, and your uncle Marco. How did you find it was balancing family and military service and your passion for helping others?
Oh my goodness. So they call me Tio Marco, not Uncle Marco. But you need to you need to realize that when you juggle too many things at once, it's life's gonna get hard. And yes, you have good intent to think of others and help others, but when I'm in the operating room, all my worries go away because I'm focused. That's one of the things that I do to help me get distracted from all the worldly, mundane things. I'm in the OR. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're at a football game, whether you're in surgery, whether you're outside playing with your kids, whether you're doing school. I like to focus on that and give it my undivided attention. Earlier today, my kids said they wanted to ride their bikes. All right, let's go. I grabbed my lawn chair and I just watched them go back and forth and cheer them on and take pictures of them. But if I'm out there and I'm on my phone, I'm not 100% there. So I like to be 100% wherever I'm at. Um, that's how I like to juggle everything, and it keeps me well grounded when I and my whole heart is in one place. I wish it was split in different places, but I'll be able to do better and focus better when my heart is in one place. In the midst of doing all this, I hope that my kids see me. I hope that they see that, hey, dad's a charitable guy. He likes to help. He likes to do things for others. So when they grow up, I hope that creates a ripple effect and they do the same thing too.
So we may have some people listening to this saying, "I kind of like that job." What would you tell somebody who's thinking about joining the military, doing military medicine, and potentially thinking about doing a surgical technologist job?
Well, when I joined, I had no idea that this job existed. I had no idea that the military provides these type of opportunities. It's an opportunity because you get to help other people. That is the main reason why I do what I do and why I pursued it. A lot of people change their MOSs, but I've been in the Army Reserve and been able to go active duty to deploy and mobilize, and I've seen so many great things. And it's allowed me the opportunity to help other people, to win the heart of people in different countries, to be able to create great relationships with. the United States. It's great being a surgical tech. It, I I love it. I'm so thankful that I came across this, and I'm good at it. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I'm good at it not because I was good from the beginning, but because my heart was in it from the beginning to do good. And now I am where I am now, and I hope people think, I'm sure people roll their eyes when they see me come in like, oh my gosh, there he is, a big jokester. But when it's time to go in the operating room, I'm a little less of a jokester and more focused on helping. And if you're looking to help people, this is a great career to have.
Well, I'll go a little step farther and say that you're great. And when you walked in the operating room when I had a surgery, I had a smile because I knew I was getting someone great to help take
Thank
care of
you.
this patient.
Yeah.
Um, Last question. When people think about your military career, what do you hope that they remember about Sergeant Marco Martinez?
Oh man. I try to convince people that I'm a shy guy, but that doesn't work too well. Um, I just want people to know that crappy things are going to happen. You need to adapt and find the good in things. I want them to see me as a positive person, okay? And along the way, I've made some mistakes and I've done stupid things, but a whole lot more good. And I want people to remember me as someone that cared about making them better, about someone that's positive, and that everything's going to be okay because things could be worse. That's how I want them to remember me.
We've been joined today by Sergeant Marco Martinez. Marco, thank you for the interview, and more
Yeah.
importantly, thank you for your service to our nation.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you.
Thank you for listening to WarDocs. We sure hope you enjoyed it. WarDocs is a nonprofit organization supported by donations from listeners like you. Please follow and subscribe to our show on whatever platform you consume your podcasts, and rate and review this episode, and share the show with your contacts on social media. Find out more information about our show, our guests, and how to become a member of Team WarDocs on wardocspodcast.com. Thank you for your support. If you like war stories and medical drama, WarDocs has you covered. Spread the word.